The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
I am the face that runs the place.
You need Roman to be out of the main title picture for a little while. Like, just, you give him a break. This is the only way you're possibly going to get the crowd to do anything but boo him, is give him a break.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
It was exciting to see because it kind of reminded me of Reading Rainbow a little bit.
All he needed was LeVar Burton to come in there.
Well, this would have definitely got a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
Show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year.
How you doing?
We get some singing lessons while we in LA. What up?
Hey, I've been recruited to teach the New Day a theme that I just came up with for their amazing cereal, Booty-O. And it literally just goes like this. Everybody always knows the thing to eat is Booty-O.
Oh, it's nasty, right? It's so good.
You heard it here first, guys.
Man.
Get your boxes everywhere they're sold.
Can we hit it one time together?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody always knows the
6,
singing.
7, 8. Everybody always knows the thing to eat is Booty-O's. Booty-O's.
Hey, make sure you ain't booty. Tagline, nailed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 235, part 1. And we are excited because we have a great show in store for all of you. We are going to be talking about some quick hits today, like, maybe some Zack Sabre Jr. news popping up on the rumor mill. Also, we'll be getting into a former TNA champion possibly returning back to the company. Will it happen? What do we think is going to happen? We'll talk about that then, as well as we'll be getting into the death of two legends in wrestling that we are sadly going to have to talk about once again, more deaths in wrestling. But besides that, we'll be also talking about Ring of Honor. That's right, they had a TV taping, and we'll be getting into some other great content like that as well. So you guys do not want to miss a minute of the show. I am totally excited about it. We hope you are. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. Gary Vaughan, and along with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Paul Leazar. Hey-o. And, guys, I'm excited about talking about this wrestling content that we have tonight, but I do want to mention something, and it's just because of the fact that, a lot of times, when we live our everyday lives, we don't listen to people's opinions, but maybe we should. And for my personal opinion, I think everyone should go check out W2Mnet.com. And if you're not already checking it out, please go do it. Trust me, you got to listen to this one because you are going to miss out if you don't. So go make sure you do it now while you're listening to us, or heck, write it down if you're not, around a computer. Just go check out W2Mnet.com. Not only do we have all of our podcasts, all the great content that we bring to you weekly, but you also get a chance to have some written reviews in front of your face that you're going to love in the world of wrestling. And we also have some great content like video games as well. It's kind of an added bonus. If you're a wrestling fan and you love video games, that's your heaven. And of course, we want you to also go check out all our content audio-wise. If you're maybe listening to us on the car, maybe just as you're walking or jogging or just doing whatever you do, make sure you go check us out on W2M Network. Or, hey, if you just want to come listen to us personally, just go type in Wrestling to the Max, and you'll have all our great content. Go subscribe, and you will get a chance to have everything that we do right after we do it. You don't have to worry about searching it out. It'll be right there in your dock when you want it. So just want to throw that out there for people. Listen, if you don't trust anybody's opinion, trust mine for tonight. And of course, talking about opinions.
I thought Gary was gonna, start some great sage advice or something. He just finds some wonderful way to go into the plugs.
It's a different podcast. So this one's not for my advice. My advice is a Gary After Dark, and that's a little different. So
I swear, Gary, you keep doing that. You're gonna do this podcast one day.
It's filthy. Trust me. You don't want to step in that muck. Anyway, well, maybe one of these days we'll do it. Working on the theme actually. But like I said, opinions are something that's important. And I actually listened to a friend of mine's opinion, and I finally watched Daredevil. I for a while I've been not trying to avoid it, but I've been trying to find other things to watch, and I just have
Netflix
not
show,
put it in front of me. Yes, the Netflix series that they have out, and I just kind of put it by the way, so I finally watched it. I'm hooked already, and I want to watch more and more and more and more. So,
well, you can always watch the other ones.
I'm
Defender shows.
I sure am. I'm going to watch them all so I can get to that big show, right? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I'm actually enjoying Daredevil. I'm hoping, Jessica Jones is good, and of course, the other shows that are involved. So,
Luke Cage
I'm just
is
excited
awesome.
about it. See, and and I found out he was a big Dallas Cowboys fan, so I'm going to watch it even more. Just put it out there. So, but anyway, I want to support the guy. He's on the good side. So
only Gary will find a way to make a Cowboys reference.
Well, just because you find something that you have a shared interest in with somebody, and then you want to support them. So, but kind of like Paul, man, what's going on with you? Anything watching anything new? Doing anything new?
I finally gave Legion a shot. I loved that first episode, and man, Daredevil is, if you've never seen it before and you're super into film or anything like that, I think it's a film lover's wet dream almost, because the way they shoot some of those things is super innovative, and that first season I think is still the best thing they've done on Netflix out of all the shows, but everything else is still really good, so you got a lot to look forward to. But I think the way they shoot Daredevil is just so awesome and so different from everything else you see. That's what really helps make it stand out.
Fight choreography as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fight choreography that they have involved in that show. But and you just mentioned Legion. Legion is a fun show to watch, but man, it trips you out. I mean, I feel like I need to do some LSD before I watch it so I can understand more of it.
Yeah, they do a great job of really putting you in the main character's shoes, of trying to disorient you and question what is actually real and what isn't, because he's schizophrenic, or is treated as schizophrenic, and they really put that across well as far as what they present to you on the show.
Yeah, it's crazy awesome. Sean, how about yourself, man? Are you watching any of these shows, doing anything different?
I sat through 25 episodes, 3 2-hour movies, the new 2016 version, and now I'm playing the video game to review. And I just realized I probably could have just played the video game and not watched any of that anime and of Berserk. So, but now I'm happier that I did, because that anime is awesome. So definitely you should go watch that, Gary. I think you would like it, Gary, just because it's a guy that he has a dark past. He's trying to find himself, and obviously there is a dub of it, so you don't have to read subtitles, but you also have to. It's not on any of the streaming services, so you'd have to go find it online and whatever. But or you could just watch the movies, I guess, which you also find online. But whatever. My point is people should go watch it. It's really good. Yeah, it just makes me laugh that I go and play the video game and it's basically a retelling of the whole thing. I could have just not watched it, but it's fine. Like, sometimes you do research for these things, and hey, you get to have an appreciation for stuff. Now I'm reading manga, which I never really do, so that's cool too. Enjoy a new medium for me. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I also need to do what you did, Gary, and actually get around to finishing Daredevil. I always get to like episode 6, and then something else happens, and I start watching other stuff, and I forget to go finish
Yeah.
it. So you go do that.
It's tough, and when you can binge, that's the best thing. So that's why I'm so happy Netflix has that available, where you can just dive in and keep going if you have the opportunity. It is tough though, like you, Sean. You have got other content you got to worry about and do a lot of other things. That's my problem too. But I am definitely invested now in that, and just kind of like I was Santa Clara Diet. I watched that over the 2 days, and I dove in head first. So. Which is another good show if you like.
It's so good.
Stuff. Oh,
yeah.
Man. So.
What is that?
Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. It's sort of a comedy zombie show. I think the best way, if you've ever watched iZombie out there on the CW,
okay.
It's kind of like that with it's almost like it's almost like a sitcom on the other side to sort of fill out the comedy portion. Like it's really interesting how they do it. It's totally cheesy, so I don't think you'd have a problem with it, Sean. You sat through early Doctor Who, and that's about as cheesy as it can get.
Yeah.
Cheese it's pretty high on the cheese mark.
See, now we should have just called this entertainment to the max. Or
I
something
know, right? I know, but we're having fun. We're just giving.
Seriously, we should probably do that one of these points.
Yeah,
it's the only one left that we don't have.
You would run out of content with me. You'd be like, "Hear me for the first 5 to 20 minutes," and then Gary, where did you go?
We would never run out of content because Gary would just be like, "Oh man, now I need to watch that show," and then
everybody would like, Gary never watches anything. But it's kind of like But I mean that's cool. That's great content.
But see, Netflix has that thing where you can download the shows now. So just like Netflix, you can always download our show. And, giving you a segue there, Gary.
Thank you so much. So, yes, now make sure you tell all your friends to download all our shows. And, hey, if you download the shows, you can skip past the stuff you don't want to care about, like this entertainment section of the show.
First 10 minutes.
This is just us giving you an idea of who we are because, well, we are who we are. But let's go ahead and talk some quick hits, guys. We got lots of great wrestling news to jump into, so let's do it. Let's go ahead and head into that now.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right.
Let's go ahead and start off with the sad stuff first. And, this is a big bummer. It's a weekend full of sadness because, we had 2 legends die. And I do want to start off with, a Hall of Famer in WWE, and that's George the Animal Steele. He, of course, was honored on Monday Night Raw. They did a whole video package for him and, got a lot of love. And, this is a guy that, you've heard over the years. And if you're not familiar with him, I think they did a good job of showcasing who he was, what he was about on Raw. But, Paul, give us some more information. Maybe some people out there don't know a lot about him and how, great of a legend he was.
I think the most interesting thing about his run as far as what he did in WWF and WWE and all that was that before he got there, he was known for these really eloquent promos that he used to do everywhere else. And whenever he got the animal gimmick, he was trying to continue that thing. And Vince said, "You're not this animal character that I have in mind." And so, in retaliation to that for wanting to do promos the way he had always done them, he cut this really droll, sort of kind of promo, and Vince loved it, and it stuck, and it got him so much babyface love that it's insane. The thing I remember him most for is his feud with Randy Savage and his trying to try to save Elizabeth from the brow beatings of Macho Man Randy Savage, and some implied physical abuse as well. But that for sure, I think in how they worked in Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and all that to lead to the big WrestleMania 3 match that those two had, which is still incredible to this day. But maybe not known for being such a technical wizard or anything like that, but the dude knew how to work characters And I think that's probably his best attribute, and somebody who I adored growing up, watching older stuff before the new generation really kicked in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people's memory of all of us growing up and watching that back then. Of my memory for George Steele is the handing Ricky Steamboat the bell, which allows Steamboat to hit Savage and start his Intercontinental title reign or whatever. That's that iconic moment for me of him. But I mean, like what Paul said, it's let's look. He wrestled in the '60s and '70s. I mean, it's obviously way before our time. So I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I just know all this info on George Steele, but he was definitely a legend, a guy that wrestled a long time. He even did some acting. He was in Ed Wood. So, it's just sad when these things happen. He died of kidney failure. So, I mean, at least he was in his older, 79 and not, really young.
Exactly. And that's the one thing you can take out of it, if there is a positive, I guess, out of this, that he did, live a good life and a long life. So, it's just kind of exciting to see some of this video of him because of the fact that you got a chance to see, all those things that you guys kind of talked about, plus, some of just who he was. And I do have to say, I loved him chewing up the turnbuckles. That was a blast to watch, just to see the way he spit him out. It's just like, man, they really did showcase him as a big animal, didn't they? So, in the green tongue, you can't get over that.
The tongue thing, yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely cool to see. And I trust me, I'm going to talk about him and, of course, another guy in a second here. And the guys we're mentioning, you definitely need to take the time, go on the WWE Network, go on YouTube, and look these guys up. You'll see just how special they were and how great they were at what they did. So it's just, it's sad to hear about George Animal Steele, and best wishes to his family and friends and all. There's another guy, and this guy is not a WWE Hall of Famer, but I really think that one day he will be a WWE Hall of Famer, and that is Ivan Koloff. And he was a huge name in wrestling, and he had a lot of moments that were very special and did a lot of the key things. This is another one, Paul, that, we heard he was sick, we heard that, but I didn't expect him to pass away so quickly, but he did. Kind of talk about him.
I mean, he died of liver cancer, which I think we've had a lot of talk about on these shows recently, with both personal experience that you had, Gary, as well as just people dying from it, and really how quickly it goes through you. Ivan Koloff is somebody who I'm much more familiar with as far as wrestling-wise, because he had so many great feuds in the National Wrestling Alliance that you couldn't really stop. And he introduced one of my favorite wrestlers, Nikita Koloff, to the fold as well, and instantly got him over as this huge heel, as part of the Russian stable that dominated the late 70s and early 80s of the National Wrestling Alliance as far as the Southwest and Mid-Atlantic regions go. But before that, he was a WWF, or that was probably one too many W's, Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, the prelude to the WWF. He was a huge heel, and that it, like, maybe the epitome of the evil foreigner gimmick. And he was so good at it. And not only that, he's a very talented wrestler too, a very, very tough individual as far as I've heard too. So this kind of sucks. I was a big fan of his work, and his promo ability kept him in the business long after he was done wrestling too. So props to this guy, a true legend, for sure.
Yeah, he's his claim to fame, of course, is ending Bruno Sammartino's big 8-year reign, and then he was a transitional champion because he lost it not even less than a month later to Pedro Morales, who would then hold it for a while. Paul mentioned all his stuff in the NWA. He was part of the Russians group, which was like one of the biggest groups that they had in the mid-'80s. So, I mean, Yeah, another guy that certainly I think a lot of people might say, "Oh, I don't know much about him. What did he really do to if he does get in the WWE Hall of Fame?" Which I guess WWE could do now because just posthumously. Um, but it's again one of these things. At least it's in his older years and not while he's younger, and hopefully people will get to remember his legacy a lot more in wrestling now that hopefully WWE will get to honor him and do a video package for him. We didn't get to see that on Raw.
Yeah, I really was kind of hoping they would, and maybe they will. They did pay honor to him, but still, I was kind of wondering if they were going to do a video package, but they didn't get a chance to do that. I think it was because they had 3 other, big video packages on that show. It was going to be kind of hard probably to fit a 4th one in. Mm-hmm. But they probably will get to that point eventually, I'm sure.
Well, they got SmackDown as well, so
that's true.
We'll see.
You're making a good point. I didn't think about that, So hopefully they will, though. He definitely deserves it. So, this is just sad. Both these guys were, key figures in wrestling history, and you hate to see anybody go. And this is happening way too often lately. I mean, my goodness, it seems like every podcast we've got to talk about someone who's passed away.
3 podcasts in a row.
Oh, God, let's stop this whole train.
Well, technically, is Nicole Bath still on the life support? Or they
I know
finally.
She's officially passed on.
Okay.
That's the last I read. That they finally did take her off life support.
Okay. So I mean, yeah, the last 3 podcasts we've had to talk about that. Hopefully, we're done with it now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just give us a break. Wrestling gods, whatever you're doing here, stop. But anyway. Let's talk about something really positive here, and this is really cool, and I'm super excited, especially when I saw the video on Raw, and that was Diamond Dallas Page is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. This is really cool. I'm super stoked. I was a huge Diamond Dallas Page fan, being a fan of WCW. He was a key player in that promotion. I'm just kind of curious how you guys feel about it. How do you think? Do you think this guy deserves being in this position of being a Hall of Famer?
Man, I really wish we had Jacob Santonio on the show right now. He's a huge DDP fan. I too enjoyed his work a lot. 96 onward is when I'm really super familiar with him, but he was around obviously a lot before that as a manager, even managing Razor Ramon at one point, which is cool. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about DDP. And if you've only watched his WWE work, then you're missing out on the prime of his career, which had to be that 97 to 99 sort of time frame. And the fact that he got into wrestling as old as he was and still had the amazing career that he had is also something to be applauded. But yeah, absolutely well deserved. There's a fun interview with him out there that he thinks his Hall of Fame induction sort of helps to legitimize WCW in a way, because him and Sting were sort of the bigger stars that WCW at least made on their own, without the territories and all that sort of backing them. So I found that kind of interesting as well. Do you think it sort of helps legitimize WCW that he's in there?
I think obviously it does. It's another WCW guy. I think once Goldberg gets in there, that's another WCW guy, which WWE is legitimizing right now, right, on TV. That's another guy that WCW made by themselves without... He really didn't have anything to do with the territories or anything like that. 'Cause Sting and DDP still were around and were doing stuff when the territories were still around. So, I think definitely you're going to get more of that. You get... and the thing is, too, with just WCW, you still have, that NWA that kind of came before it in that era of right before WCW bought them. You're going to get the Rock and Roll Express this year in there as well. So, I think as more time goes on, we're going to get more of these WCW guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, Conan, you're next, right? Oh, that's right. Probably not. But
Long shot there, buddy. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
yeah. Well, good luck on that one, Conan. But anyway, no, I mean, I think you're right, and it's exciting that WCW is getting the respect because obviously these guys wouldn't go in if they just were completely just down with WCW and didn't want anybody to talk about it. They would not invest any time on these guys. They know when they bring guys like DDP, even Sting, into the Hall of Fame discussion, WCW follows. So it's cool, and I think it also is good because heck, they own WCW now. I mean, that's their property. So I mean, why not? Why not address it? So
I think it also helps him too. That very much like when we talk about the NFL and when, and this year they inducted 3 guys that are visibly on the NFL Network. DDP, having been around the last couple with Razor Ramon and Jake the Snake getting in and him being a kind of a, he presented for one of them and being a guy that's constantly talked about because of the DDP yoga and stuff like that. I think honestly, you can make a case that for all that he's done good for wrestling through DDP yoga, he could go in just for that. So that not even talking about his wrestling career or whatever. So, you put all that in. I think it's a total surefire. I don't think you can argue that he doesn't deserve to be in the hall like that. At least WWE's where they don't look at all these, stats and logistics and all this other crap that other places might. But it's cool to see him finally get his due, and it'll be one of those Hall of Fame inductions to certainly watch.
Oh, for sure. I'm really looking forward to it, and to see especially who's going to present him. So that'd be a lot of fun to see. And
I would hope Jake comes back to present him, or
I think his wife is a strong option too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that could be the case for sure. So, I mean, we're talking about WCW love. I mean, eventually down the line of one of these Hall of Fames, you're going to have somebody inducted in a celebrity wing from WCW, and David Arquette should be up with that name. So. Eventually,
no.
I would completely be okay with that. The celebrity wing means nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, when you think about it.
And you got Drew Carey.
He's done more than some of these celebrities. What, Drew Carey?
Yeah.
Oh. If Drew Carey's in there, you can have almost anyone in there.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. So, anyway. Well, let's talk about
I just want to see them talk about it. Like, just talk about the fact that Arquette won the damn WCW title.
Could you imagine? Sure did. Bischoff being the guy who inducts him.
Oh, man. They'd have to bring back Russo for that.
Yeah.
Just, so he could gloat for 10 minutes about how this was a great thing.
Golly. Oh, the tears. I can already feel
it was on the front of USA Today, bro. It was on there, bro. Let me tell you. Just whatever. So you can go back in the hole that you're in. Thank you pay for that. The brand. Why did I just give him a plug? Anyway,
thanks a lot, Sean. Now people are gonna go checking out that show, and well, trust me, they'll be back.
I don't think you want to go pay for that show. It's a waste of space.
Yeah. Well, let's hopefully we're not talking about something else that's kind of wasted space. We've at least talked about that possibly. And we talked a lot about this on Raw, so we don't have to dive into this too much. But Paul was saying this was kind of wasted space, and that's the guys or gals that usually host WrestleManias. And this year, the New Day is going to be that special person or persons to host WrestleMania 33. Paul, you weren't really down with
why do we have to have a host of WrestleMania for one?
Yeah, that's even a better question.
I mean, I'm sort of like that too, because so far previous history has told us that these are time-wasted segments, and admittedly, in the past they've been to throw, older guys like The Rock or to people from outside the industry hosting, quote unquote, and not really adding anything to their show. With the New Day, at least you could say it's a current act, and that is somewhat helpful. But these segments usually don't do anything for anybody, and I'm not thrilled about this at all.
So when are they going to get Bob Barker to come in and host the...
Oh, that might be the dream, man. I would totally be okay with it, especially if they play Price is Right at WrestleMania. I'm marking out like nobody's business.
Oh, man. Well, you better get Betty White in there before she goes.
They got to have Jericho be in the segment.
Betty White's going to live to see the apocalypse, Gary.
True.
She is bulletproof.
God.
The world's burning and she's just sitting there. I'm the last one, right? Okay, I can go.
Just me.
Just me.
Lock up on your way out, Betty. It's been a good run.
Golly.
You can go watch her on Hulu.
That's right, Golden Girls. Oh, so special, so awesome.
Oh, that show is still great.
It is. It holds up in time. We'll save that conversation for the entertainment show that we don't have. But there's something about these host thing that I think people want to have a little fun, a little bit of that time of, we've had a lot of wrestling. Let's have a little bit of entertainment to be a part of this. And, they don't do a halftime show at WrestleMania, right? I mean, they don't do those type of things. I think that's what the host
They kind of did last year with The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. But he was the host, right? And so that maybe what the New Day is going to do. They're probably going to have this big segment somewhere in the middle where they're bringing out either Bootios or their ice cream is going to be going everywhere.
They're coming in an ice cream truck.
Yeah, see? Something like that. Maybe, you have something different, that we've never seen before happen. So I think that's what do what?
Just that them coming out of the Bootios thing was nice, right? And that was over at the time. And maybe, the ice cream thing just doesn't feel as over to me. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm just so down on the idea that just nothing is going to sell me.
Speaking of the ice cream thing, did you guys see the Rock at Raw try to call CM Punk? And then they were chanting his name, and then CM Punk called back and was like, "Los Angeles, great to hear from you." Speaking of the man that tried to get ice cream bars back in WWE first, and it had to wait till the New Day to get it over.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. I had not seen that. Oh, man. No, I think if we are going to do the ice cream gimmick at WrestleMania 33 with the New Day, maybe they pull up, and they say they have a special surprise. The guy that's going to deliver all the ice cream to all the fans and pops out Glacier.
Oh, boy. You want to talk about another way to get Paul marking out fast. Throw in some Glacier.
God, I'm going to leave
Jeez.
this one alone.
Gotta love that, right? So
No.
Sounds like no.
Might as well get Sub-Zero to show up in costume.
Yeah, dude.
He's game. He loves Mortal
It's
Kombat.
Scorpion too. Let's just...
You can throw the whole gang out there. I don't care. That's great.
Sonya.
Get it.
Oh man. So I don't know. I think all of us can at least say this: if the New Day is going to host, we can at least say that they're a part of WWE currently, and if they, if anybody's going to entertain us, I think the New Day can do it. And if they, especially with the money that they throw at these kind of things, I think they can do it in a big way. So, I don't know.
Yeah, the New Day is going to do it big and loud and proud. So
that's right. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's talk about something that's kind of interesting because this is a part of another promotion in TNA, and they haven't made a lot of waves and maybe going back into their old shows and looking for talent that they used to have, but they've kind of thought about one certain guy that's a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion and Magnus to get back and be a part of the fold, and they have actually offered him a deal. You're yet to find out that if he's going to accept it or if he's going to turn it down, but that's a guy, Sean, that, we haven't seen around in a long time. He's been kind of doing the indie circuit. Of course, we saw him hanging out with Jeff Jarrett when it came to GFW, right? So.
Nothing exists.
I don't know if it still does, but at one time it did.
Cody's still toting around that next gen title.
Well, Cody's will tote around anything that they give him at this point. So, I think this shows you everything you need to know about Magnus. The fact that Mickie James can't get her husband into NXT.
Oof.
But and with all this UK stuff going on, right? He couldn't have been one of the UK guys or whatever. Like, I mean, look, you know what? Magnus had a moment in TNA, and it passed by really fast. I mean, the problem with Magnus is he's really just he's blah. He's a dude. I don't really know what to like. Okay, hey, coming back to TNA, Magnus. Crickets. That's what I'm expecting. It's just I don't want to hate on the. I'm not really hating on him, but it's like, I don't know. I just don't know.
I mean, I think this just reeks of a Jeff Jarrett move. Trying to get, he's somebody who's important to TNA's history. At least there's that former world champion, and at one time looked like a pretty seriously dangerous dude when he was in the tag ranks, especially when he's running with Joe. But I'm sort of with you. I don't think this does anything to bring anybody to watch your television show or anything like that. So if that's what they're shooting for, then swing and a miss. But I mean, at least they do need names. Magnus is something that might do something for the people who are already there.
This just reeks of Jarrett. Let's bring back everybody that sort of worked. And, I don't mind. I mean, Jarrett obviously much better than John Gabork being there, and Scott D'Amore knows what he's doing. The Dutch Mantel, Mr. Zev Coulter being there helps too, but right now they got to worry about what they're doing with their TV, not try to bring another character in here. But, it is what it is, I guess. It can't really hurt TNA any worse, right? So.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think at least it does add another face that people that watch TNA are familiar with, and they can throw him in any other kind of place and just see how he kind of falls in with the rest of this group. And I mean, TNA definitely has some talent on their roster. They definitely do. Some guys that you can definitely say, man, I mean, they've got something going good, but they could use a little bit more depth. I really feel that way. So adding Magnus back is, to me, more of a positive than a negative. Even though he's not the best, I mean, he's okay. He's kind of, like Sean said, blah. But he's at least something that you could say is a former champion and someone who at one time did matter. So.
See, TNA tries to make Magnus. And New Japan, they just go, you know what? You guys got Magnus. Who cares about that? We got freaking Zack Sabre Jr. Screw you guys.
Ooh, Sean just stole it right out from under my feet. You're right. And that was the next thing. The other Brit being Zack Sabre Jr., looking like he's going to be the next junior heavyweight for New Japan. That's kind of cool. I mean, I think that, he's some guy that WWE would love to have, but they can't make a deal with him. New Japan just might do it, Paul.
I think this is really interesting to future possibilities. So this year, Zack Sabre moved stateside to take more bookings here in the U.S., and I don't know how much it's affected his bookings in England. I know he's still going to work RevPro for sure. But when I think you look at he works PWG, and he sort of tours around the States. Like, he just worked Wrestle Circus here in Austin this past weekend for their first pay-per-view. And he continues to make the rounds here and everywhere, and signing with New Japan is sort of a big deal. Obviously, the strong number 2, and he got a lot going on in the juniors right now. And he certainly adds a lot to that. He's also had experience in Japan. He's worked with Noah before. So I don't feel like this is coming out of nowhere. But for somebody who wanted to sort of open up his possibilities, I feel like choosing New Japan almost narrows it back down. Because obviously it's going to take a lot of time, if he works for them quite often, to work there. And how much this is really going to dig into what he does here in the States. Or maybe this leads to Ring of Honor for him. Or something like that. But I feel like it kind of went against what he wanted to do by moving here, but maybe only by moving to the States, this is the only way it could work out or something. I don't know.
I think this is cool for your, Best of Super Juniors or whatever, having all that great talent in one place, or in just your junior division in general of what, New Japan now has options. They can go that route. I mean, he's obviously, he's worked in Noah before for long periods, so, I mean, he's familiar with the country and the style and all that stuff. Just, I'm kind of like you, just, okay, you moved, and then, okay, we're going to New Japan, and obviously this cuts you off from certain things of what you can do, but, I mean, he will still have a presence stateside, like you said, with Ring of Honor if he so chooses. Means he can't work with, Evolve or anything with Flow Slam or, so, like, it's going to have some places he can't work now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the difficult part about this, but, I think, for him, if he really feels like this is a positive move, and he can definitely have some great matches in New Japan, so I think it could be, a positive thing, even though you're right, he is very, regulated after signing with New Japan, because of the fact that there's so many different...
CSJ and Kushida right now.
Oof. Man.
Yeah, I mean, him and Takahashi, him and Dragon Lee, him and Ospreay's been a thing before, but, I mean, the matches, him and Shibata outside in Japan, I think it'd be really cool too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great stuff to look forward to if this deal does go down for sure. Well, guys, let's move on, and we're going to jump into some rapid hits here. We're going to go through a few topics here. You guys just kind of rattle off your opinion, and then we will move on to the next one. Let's start by talking off about Vampiro. He's actually got a new situation over there in AAA. They just named him Director of Talent.
I feel like this is an interesting move, mostly because we know Vampiro's relation to Lucha Underground and how much he's actually involved with the product is probably much more staggering than what we actually know. But I feel like this sort of helps bridge that gap, and maybe this could be a turning point for AAA because I feel like he's sort of a bit more with it. As far as what people are after than maybe what they had before. So interesting stuff. And interesting that they go with Vampiro after Conan's exodus.
Yeah, I hope, like you said, that this is them waking up and understanding that Vampiro might have it more on the pulse and understanding that you might have to stop just relying on all the 50-year-olds and all that kind of stuff, and start realizing that when you have a young guy, you might need to do something with him, and you might need to showcase him a bit more, because there's always a chance he could decide to do what Pentagon and Phoenix and some of these other guys have, and say, okay, look, this is not happening for you. Let's go somewhere else. I wonder who he's going to really showcase in all this, but hopefully this is good news for AAA and not more of the same.
Mm-hmm. Thea Trinidad has been cast in the new movie. That's right, Paige's new movie, Fighting With My Family, to be exact. And her part will be a former Divas champion.
A lot of people are thinking she's going to be AJ Lee in all this. And she's doing both stunts and the acting. And they were actually filming some stuff after Raw tonight for the movie, which is kind of cool. So, good for her. And maybe this leads to getting a foothold inside the WWE with Austin.
Yeah. Hopefully it is for her. It just, yeah, too bad, WWE's involved. They couldn't just have AJ Lee play her own part. But yeah, this is interesting. I'll be much more interesting to see who else they get to do some of these roles that are important in Paige's life or whatever. But kind of cool.
Stars and Paramount are working on a new show called Heels. This has already been picked up, but the word is that it's going to be straight to series.
I think this is interesting because the more we do the show, the more often we keep seeing like wrestling dramas come up, and putting it on Stars is a bit of a different direction than what we've seen before. It's usually these access channels almost on regular cable. It's supposed to be 8 episodes. I'm kind of interested in it, to be honest. It's about independent wrestling, so it could get real shady real fast.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and then you got that Glow show that's still in the works too. So
yeah, over on Netflix,
things keep popping up, and interesting that this is all sort of seems to be happening at once here. But yeah, I'm just waiting for HBO to have the show Faces, and then
yeah, starring John Cena. No, I mean it's kind of funny, and before you know it, we're gonna need an entertainment show that's involving all these wrestling shows, right? So we may end up doing a Friday podcast for W2M, which is W2M Entertainment.
Don't give us more stuff to do already.
I know, right? So who knows? But yeah, go check it out as soon as it comes out. All this stuff is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. This is always a good thing if Hollywood and people that are involved are looking to wrestling, because it means maybe people will start coming back that have kind of strayed. It's kind of a good thing if you ask me. So. But yeah, that is quick hits for us this episode, at least until we do our part 2. You'll have more big news next Thursday. But now we are going to move on, though, guys. We still need to talk some Ring of Honor, and they had some stuff go down here that is kind of interesting, and I honestly kind of enjoyed. So we'll be right back with Ring of Honor right after this, guys.
All right, Ring of Honor, as I scroll a little bit here. So the big thing on this episode is obviously the finals of the Decade of Excellence tournament, which if you've paid attention to Ring of Honor on any of their social media platforms or their website, you already know who wins the match. So maybe we'll talk a little less about that. But they open with Silas Young taking on Bull James to sort of try to retouch on the attack that Silas and the Beer City Bruiser did on Bull James about a month and a half ago. When they sort of set him up to be their third guy in their chase for the 6-man titles and then beat him up and all that stuff. It made him look silly. Silas ends up winning this with Misery. This was fine. I don't think I was overly interested, and the live crowd certainly wasn't either.
It's funny, and I think the direction they're going is Bull James as this baby face, which makes sense. He looks like a baby face, if you ask me. He's just this lovable guy. Like, you see him and you just want to give him a hug. I mean, he's just I just look at him and say, man, he could be my friend. We could hang out at Taco Bell and just enjoy ourselves. But, I mean, going on the flip side of that, I kind of don't like this thought process because, trust me, yes, the Beer City Bruiser and Silas Young are, pretty rough-looking guys, if you want to say it that way. I would have loved the trio of these guys, adding, Bull here. But, I mean, I guess things work out differently for certain reasons. So, it is what it is. This was okay. This was fine. You get what you get. Bull gets a chance to look good here and there. But this was more about, Silas Young embarrassing Bull. They got that done. So, I mean, that's about it. I mean, really not a lot of substance here. I wish there was. I really do, but there's just not enough here for, I think, a lot of people to care about. You get to kind of tell that with the audience.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I'm not overly invested in Bull James and Ring of Honor. And that also might be because I haven't really done enough to really, draw you into him or anything like that, as he's really just been a couple one-offs here or there. But I can't say I was overly thrilled about he would have fit the mold, right, of what they were going for as far as the trio goes. But I look at somebody more like Jack Stane, who they've used in the Texas shows when they show up here quite liberally, and make him look strong as all get out. And he's somebody who I think fits that sort of quote-unquote last real man look. Not only is he a big dude, but he's all about beating the bejesus out of you, and he plays a damn good heel too. So I would be more on that side of the train if that's where they decide to go with this. But they continue to tease this story along. I don't want to say almost to the point of me not caring, because I think the 6-man titles have been much more interesting than like New Japan's never open weight titles or anything like that. So
yeah,
just have to wait and see what they do. Yeah. Lots of promos here. Jay Briscoe talks about the main event where he's going to face Christopher Daniels, and about how, the Decade of Excellence and how he showed up in Ring of Honor as a pale, pasty 18-year-old kid, and Daniels was the big guy on the roster, and how all that sort of changed because Briscoe is, of course, a 2-time ROH World Champion, and Christopher Daniels is a 0-time ROH World Heavyweight Champion. Bobby Fish then gets promo talking about how it's not really going to matter who wins the tournament because he's winning the championship at Manhattan Mayhem, which I believe is next weekend. Beginning of March. Colt Cabana then has a handicap match with the boys. Really more of a comedy match, I would say, than anything. It does do the job of making Colt at least look strong, but the boys have never really been treated as much as anything in Ring of Honor so far. I loved Colt's opening promo, though, where he calls himself the Iron Jew, pretty much.
Yeah, and he can get away with that because he is Jewish. So. No, I mean, I think you're right. This was a lot about comedy, especially when he's picking up one of the boys and saying, "Oh, you're so light." I loved it. And, just the way this went down, I appreciate also you had Dalton Castle on commentary here with Kevin Kelly. So you get that part of it as well. It's not just about the comedy. You actually get a chance to see what Cabana's thinking about. I think that they did a fine job here for what they're trying to do. I mean, this is nothing where you're going to be super overly, excited about. It's fine. Once Colt and Cabana get in the ring together and actually have their match again, that'll be a lot more fun. But for what we're seeing here, this is just kind of a little bit of something to get us to that next point. And the boys did fine. They did not do anything bad here. But at the end of the day, this is just a way for Colt Cabana to get a squash, move on. And, yeah, there you go.
I mean, whenever they do finally decide to let the boys go and do their thing in the tag ranks, they're going to be well prepared. They work a lot of indie shows. And they're actually a pretty damn good tag team whenever they get a chance to look competitive. So I'm looking forward to that day for them in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Daniels. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've also heard that Cabana, so those two guys can go have some serious matches. Cabana has also got, other boys, like other indie guys to play his boys in different promotions.
That is true. It's not always the same set of boys, especially on the all of the ROH shows that I've been to outside of Supercard of Honor last year. In Dallas, it's always been a couple of stand-ins from either their dojo or indie wrestlers, and I think it was last year's Bola where his boys were Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. So
wow. That's cool. So that's a little bit of information for people out there. Maybe you go to a Ring of Honor show and you're like, "Whoa, these are not just normal guys." Well, there's a reason for that. So just throw that out there.
Yeah, they do. They do a lot of work here. I talk about Wrestle Circus a lot just because it's a bigger promotion closer to me. But the boys do a lot of work there. I think they've been on every show for them so far. So, Yeah. Christopher Daniels does a promo about the main event tonight. We get a top prospect tournament promo video, which starts next week. I've heard some of those matches are actually pretty good so far, so I'm looking forward to that. Plus, I'm a huge Kurt Stallion fan, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him. Mark Briscoe and Kazarian then join Kevin Kelly for commentary, and we get the main event after that. They're a little sloppy in the beginning here in this Briscoe-Daniels match. It works up to something pretty good. I wouldn't say it's a blowaway or anything like for that, because they were really trying to go for epic, and it falls way short. The finish was great, though. Daniels wins with the Super Angels wings to put Jay down for good, and like I said, epic. They went for epic. I don't think it got anywhere close, but it was still a fine match.
Even before I talk about the match, I do want to mention Top Prospects Tournament. I really enjoy that every year, so I'm really looking forward to this. I remember last year, Leo Rush was the standout coming out of that, and I can't wait to see the next guy that stands out in that tournament. So, but yeah, about this main event here. I mean, Daniels, at times here looks like, he reached his peak and he can't do any more, and he's not going to be able to go any further. And Jay, looks as strong as ever, but they have a nice back and forth here. I'm in totally agreement with Paul. I just don't think this was on the level that they wanted it to be. I really felt like they wanted this to be like a moment that was special in time where these two guys face off for a big match. And it was a big match, but it just didn't reach that level. It just didn't get there. Was it good? Yeah, I thought it was good. Was it great? No, it wasn't great. So as much as they try to put into it, it was just there, and it was fine, but it was nothing spectacular. Nothing you're going to be like, oh my God, you got to go watch this 100 times. So Daniels is the winner. You kind of thought it could be that way, and now, we get a chance to see him move on in his journey, and I like that, because this whole thing with him has been about Daniels' journey and where's he going, and the whole thought process that this is his last chance.
Right. And we're on to a fresh set of tapings after this too, so we're going to be moving out to the center stage here. But I think it's, and if you've read spoilers, obviously, I mean, there was a big one that was floating around at least my Facebook for a long time, but I think they're invested in this Daniels thing, and I think it really feels like they might be trying to play it safe too, because they know Daniels isn't going to go anywhere unless he decides to go back to TNA for whatever reason to be misused. But yeah, so I'm the 15th anniversary show is shaping up to be something. They're going to be back in Vegas and all that good stuff, and Daniels will challenge for the title there against Adam Cole if Cole is still the champion. So that's your Ring of Honor for the week.
Yeah, sure was. And of course, once again, I mean, we enjoy, watching Ring of Honor and covering it for you. And if you, are listening and you haven't had a chance, you just check out your local Sinclair stations, and they usually have it. It's free. And if not, you can go check it out on ringofhonor.com. Of course, the Fight app also has it for free. So just go check it out. Trust us. It's good stuff. But yeah, that is our show for this week. We've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of great things to talk about, but we are going to head out here. And to do that, we want to make sure to remind you once again, W2Mnet.com. Go check it out. Make sure you go look up all our podcasts, also all the written reviews and all the different things that we have to offer on the site for you guys. Plus, also go subscribe to Wrestling to the Max and or W2M Network. Both of them are great. You can just pick and choose which one because of the fact that you get all of our content, or you can have all our content and a lot more great content on the W2M Network. But besides that, I think we pretty much kind of covered everything. Sean, is there anything else you want to let the people know before we get out of this show?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick and Harry did AIW Girls Night Out. If you're subscribed to the W2 Network, you can listen to them discuss that. New Running Wild podcast, they talked about FIP's Ascension pay-per-view, the new Style Battle episode, and quite a bit more in that. Of course, Gary mentioned the new soccer podcast is up. Of course, next week we'll be previewing the whole MLS season, as that will be kicking off in a couple weeks now. I think we're like 10 days away at this point, and then also just everything else should be coming through as per normal.
Great. So, like I said, go check out the site, and of course, we'll be having all that great content heading your way. But until next time, guys, for myself, for Sean, and for Paul, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.